Today, we're going to find out what would happen if Luffy took on every single Admiral in One Piece. Who will come out on top against the future Pirate King? Well, we'll take a look at each of Luffy's gear forms and see which one has the best chance of taking out each Admiral. Let's start out with base Luffy. Now, Luffy's had his Gomu Gomu no Mi abilities since he was 7 years old, which means that he probably doesn't even remember a time when his body didn't act like rubber. After training on Dawn Island for 10 years and spending another 2 years training with Silver's Rayleigh, he's mastered his abilities like a pro. Luffy also has incredible instinct. He usually makes some pretty dumb decisions, but when he's in the middle of a fight, he turns the brain power up to 1,000. He was able to figure out the real Mr. 3 in Little Garden entirely based on a hunch. On top of that, he's also crazy strong. He was able to carry a huge stone block on his shoulder while sprinting and weakened by sea stone. So he's fast, durable, strong, and has great instinct for danger. Does that mean he has any chance against the Admirals? No, he really doesn't. There's no way base level Luffy's going toe to toe with any of the Admirals, much less beating any of them. But when we take him up to Gear 2, maybe he'll have more of a chance. Well, Luffy activates Gear 2 by forcing the blood in his body to pump at an accelerated rate, making him much faster and stronger. This allows him to move so fast that he even surpasses the Soru users and smash through their defensive power of Tekkai. He gets even stronger when he enhances his attacks with Haki. His punches move so fast and hit so hard, they ignite his fist in flames. He calls this attack the Red Hawk, and it's so powerful that it causes Kaido, one of the strongest pirates in the world, who's renowned for his near-indestructible body, to actually dodge the attack. But would he last against the Admirals? Well, since we're talking about speed right now, let's talk about an Admiral that can literally move at the speed of light. Admiral Kizaru's Pika Pika no Mi allows him to transform his body into literal light. There's no beating that from Luffy. He's fast, but the speed of light is just way too much for him. Not to mention the fact that he knows Buso Shoku Haki, making him even more deadly. There's no winning this one for Luffy, no matter how fast or strong he is in this state. He can pack a punch, sure, but he has to land the punch first. Alright, that's Gear 2, but what about Luffy in Gear 3? Well, that's where things get interesting. Gear 3 lets Luffy take a page from Tom and Jerry's Book of Tricks by blowing air into a part of his body to inflate it like a balloon. This inflated body part can do a massive amount of area damage, allowing him to destroy large buildings with ease. The effect of this new form also gets buffed way harder once Luffy learns Buso Shoku Haki during the time skip, and Hao Shoku Haki infusion during the Wano Kuni arc. That puts him on a different level entirely from the last two forms. Now, let's put him up against Admiral Kizaru again. With speed and the enhanced strength on his side, Luffy actually has a much better chance of coming out on top in this one. One thing that gives Luffy a great advantage in this battle is the fact that Admiral Kizaru has never shown the true potential of the Pika Pika no Mi. It's an incredibly powerful devil fruit. In fact, it's probably one of the most powerful of all the Logia-type fruits we've seen in the series. But he isn't as creative as he could be with the power over light itself. I see Luffy pulling out a very narrow win in this one, with the help of his out-of-the-box thinking and just raw luck, which we know he has a ton of. And that marks the first win for Luffy in this whole series. But we're just getting started with both Luffy's forms and the Admirals. There's still more left to talk about, and they just get wilder from here. The next Admiral we can look at is Ryokugyu, an Admiral who remained a mystery right up until the Wano arc. He has the Mori Mori no Mi, which is a Logia-type devil fruit that allows him to create, control, and transform his body into plant life. The plants he creates can be grown rapidly and move around freely, seemingly not being limited by any rigidity that some plants such as trees normally possess. He's pretty strong, and being able to control plant life is definitely an overpowered ability, but he has one major weakness: fire. And we already know that one of Luffy's attacks hits hard enough to generate fire. The Red Hawk is an easy counter to the Mori Mori no Mi, and although it's not a surefire counter, it still gives Luffy just enough of an edge to take this one home. Luffy's on a roll, but the next Admiral on our list puts a stop to it pretty easily. Admiral Fujitora comes out of the gate swinging with his Zushi Zushi no Mi, which allows him control over the gravitational field around him, as well as access to Buso Shoku Haki and Kenbun Shoku Haki. His power over the gravitational field around him makes for a terrifying opponent to go up against. And I don't think Luffy can get out of this one in one piece. Ha, pun intended. For one, Fujitora's skill and strength in a battle makes him easily one of the strongest of all the Admirals. His morals sometimes get in the way of his fighting ability, but that doesn't make him any less of a beast in battle. And what makes him even more terrifying is the fact that he's blind. Even while being blind, he's unmatched in his combat prowess and abilities. The only way I can see Luffy pulling out a win here is by taking advantage of Fujitora's blindness to sneak up on him, and even that's unlikely. Fujitora's blindness makes his other abilities much sharper by compensation, so he easily ends Luffy's winning streak and gives him another loss for the day. But we're not done yet. Now it's time for Luffy to show off his Gear 4 form. But before that, it seems like you've made it pretty far into the video. Why don't you take a second to leave a like and subscribe to the video so you see more from our channel. If you're loving this video so far, we've got a ton more high quality content for you, so don't miss it. Anyway, back to Luffy's Gear 4 form. Gear 4 was created during Luffy's 2-year training on Rusukaina, and was first seen on Dressrosa. By blowing into his arm, Luffy inflates the muscles in his entire body, and then covers it with Busoshoku Haki, taking one of 3 forms. The first form, Bound Man, makes his composition akin to a rubber ball, causing him to bounce all the time. The second form, Tank Man, makes Luffy much bigger and increases his defensive abilities, although sacrificing speed. It allows him to use his body as a weapon, with the recoil from attacks blasting opponents away. The third form is Snake Man, focusing on speed, but lacks the defensive capabilities of the other 2 forms. Luffy gains a tremendous increase in attack speed and frequently changes the direction of his attacks to assault his opponents from every direction. However, in addition to being weakened, he'll be unable to use Haki for 10 minutes until it recharges. And the final nail in the coffin, using Gear 4 multiple times in a short amount of time will take a toll on his body. Now, this gear form is perfect for dealing with Fujitora, specifically the first version, Bound Man. Using a gravitational pull on Bound Man Luffy will not only backfire by allowing Luffy to bounce around the area really hard, but a majority of attacks will go flying off his rubbery body. This means that Luffy should be able to get the upper hand against the Admiral and pull off a win thanks to the unpredictability and bounciness of the Bound Man form. Luffy's back on a roll with his winning streak, but he still has 2 more Admirals to go up against, and this next one is the opposite of a pushover. Can he secure a win again? Let's see. Admiral Aokiji is definitely one of the biggest threats Luffy has faced so far in his countdown, and honestly, it's a close one in my opinion, but I still give this one to Luffy once again. His Gear 4 form is just too versatile, and his mastery of Haki makes him a deadly opponent for the Admiral. Of course, Aokiji's ice attacks are just as deadly, and he's so powerful he was even able to permanently transform the climate of a major chunk of an island after a fight. It'll be a difficult battle, and it might come down just to stamina, but I see Luffy taking this one. And then he hits his final roadblock with Admiral Akainu. Akainu is just too strong for Luffy to handle alone, even with his fully powered up Gear 4 and mastery of Haki. Yeah, Luffy's strong in this form, but he's going up against the same man that stopped one of Whitebeard's attacks with just a stomp. For this one, Luffy's going to have to bring an entirely different level of power, and luckily, he has just the thing. With his Gear 5 awakened form, Luffy shows off the true ability of his Gomu Gomu no Mi, or should I say the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. This gives Luffy the powers of the Sun God Nika, and honestly, this is the best form to use against Akainu. In this form, Luffy has the ability to not just turn himself into rubber, but also turn the environment around him into rubber. In fact, the only limits of this devil fruit are Luffy's own imagination, and well, his stamina. This form as of right now is so draining that Luffy gets incredibly weak and frail for long periods of time after using it. But he doesn't need much time to defeat Akainu. This form isn't just cartoonishly powerful, it's also incredibly durable too, as Luffy was able to deflect a Bolo Breath attack from Kaido. Akainu is not winning against the Sun God, and I see Luffy easily taking the win one last time. And there you have it, my breakdown of if Luffy took on all the Admirals. And hey, if you're not satisfied with just this, why don't you check out all the other One Piece content on our channel, like this one right here that's popped up on your screen. Thanks for watching, see you next time!